Hi, my name is John Ford. I'm a mediator and a trainer, and in addition, I'm the producer of what I call the empathy set. Two sets of cards, one 56 feelings, and the other 56 needs, that together I call the empathy set because of their power to support us having empathic conversations with one another, especially when we've experienced a rupture in our lives, but also when we're just connected and want to be able to get in touch with how we're feeling and what we're needing. The impetus for calling them the empathy set really comes from the work of Marshall Rosenberg. And I bet some of you are familiar with his work. He's famous for a book he wrote called Nonviolent Communication, and that really started a communication movement that has had a powerful effect on how we communicate without judgment, especially using I statements, which essentially entail expressing how we're feeling in regard to what we're observing, what we need in regard to what it is that we're feeling, and then ending with a request. So as I mentioned, the empathy set is really comprised of the two packs of cards, the feelings and needs cards. And I suspect most of you are sensitive or aware of the need for empathy in the world, just as a general proposition. And yet we often find ourselves sort of hamstrung for a number of reasons. Sometimes empathy can feel a little bit too woo-woo. In other words, how do we really get into someone else's shoes, or moccasins, as the quote sometimes goes? It can often feel really difficult to accomplish. Another reason why we'll sometimes struggle with empathy is that we're not necessarily in touch with what we're feeling or needing, and also not in touch with what the other person is feeling and needing. But again, what I find really helpful is going back to the work of Marshall Rosenberg, where he defined empathy in a number of ways, but also he defined it as being able to demonstrate an understanding of what another human being is feeling and needing. So when we're able to identify what someone's feeling and needing, we're essentially giving them empathy. And it's so much better than judging them. That's often the tragedy of what I observe, especially in my line of work, is that people are in an interconnected relationship. It may be a family relationship, it may be in the workplace. Something happens, there's a rupture. In other words, someone does something or doesn't do something or says something or doesn't say something, and we perceive that rupture. And so instead of having the unity of the circle being intact, we now have a break in that unity. And again, the tragedy is that people try to restore that unity, but they don't always go about it in the best way. They often go about it by making judgments. They'll say things like, "You're rude, you always interrupt me." And instead of the other person being able to hear that feedback and say, "All right, I won't interrupt you," and thereby restore that unity to that circle, they'll often get defensive. They may say something like, "No, I don't," or "You do too," or "I don't do it all the time." So in other words, despite the best intentions of trying to restore harmony, trying to restore unity, we make things worse. So we really need tools to support ourselves communicate in these difficult life intersections when we experience what I know from my field and my world of mediation, the fact that conflict is inevitable. So that said, how exactly do we use these cards, these feelings and needs cards? How do we bring them to life in our world? The first thing we do is we identify a situation, an event, or a relationship that we want to work on. And again, although it's typically in regard to something that isn't working well, it can also be in regard to something that is. So the first task is just identifying what it is. It's also then helpful to describe, whether it's internally to ourselves or sometimes to another person we're working with, a little bit more detail, sort of like the nutshell of what's going on in that situation. And then once we've done that, to take times to first identify what we're feeling and then to identify what we're needing. And I'm going to do an example to demonstrate that, but I just wanted to share with you what we're ultimately going for. So as I say, the first thing is feelings. We want to identify all the feelings, both positive and negative, that we think have some application to us in this situation. And what people are mostly surprised to discover is how many feelings apply to them. So our first task is just to get a general sense of all of the feeling cards that apply, and then to start what I think of as the distillation process, where we sort of put them into some kind of a funnel and get to the top 7. when I'm working with folks in conflict, that's what I always ask them to do. We can take it another step further and go for the top 3, but the top 7 is a nice goal to have. It's not based on, as it were, on science. It's just a number that gets us going. So we start with the feelings, get our top 7, then our top 3, and then we work on the needs. We get out all the needs that we think apply, and we identify the top 7 needs and then the top 3 needs. Now, of course, if you need more than 7, that's fine. Sometimes people end up with 10 or 12. Sometimes they have less. But that's the basic sort of idea. The other thing I just want to mention up front, well, just maybe a couple of things. Firstly, feelings, as I already mentioned, sometimes we can describe them as positive or negative, but I invite you to think of all feelings as providing information for you in terms of what's going on in your life. So they're all providing useful information, both the positives and the negatives. The positives are typically indicating how your needs are already being met, and the negatives are indicating to you how your needs are not being met, but they all provide useful information. The feelings also often get us in touch with what's happened, where by contrast, the needs point us to the future. In other words, where we want to go and what it is that we need to do or need to acquire in the future. The other thing is that there's often a relationship between the feeling and the need. So for example, if someone's feeling tired, it may mean that they need rest. If someone's feeling confused, it may mean that they need clarity. So there's often a relationship between the feelings and the needs, and we can use that information that we gather in terms of what we're feeling to discover what our needs are. In another video, I'll explain how once we've discovered what we need and someone else needs, we can actually use that information to problem solve together. And as I say, I'm a professional mediator, and that's how I coach my clients all the time and how we resolve our conflicts. But let me take on a challenge myself. As I said, I want to give you an example. So the example I'm going to give it relates to a men's group that I belong to. It's a friendship group. There's 6 of us, and we get together around about once a month and share all manner of things. And along the way, we've shared our interests, and one of the interests that's common in the group is an interest in music. Now, I would say I'm the least musically inclined. I don't play an instrument. I'm in some senses eager to learn. I don't have a vast library of music, so I always feel a little on the out. And on previous occasions, I have shared a little bit of information. And while it was well received, I suppose at the end, I kind of felt like the novice. So I certainly know that I feel vulnerable sharing information about my music likes and dislikes. In any event, in one of our meetings, we were talking, and I mentioned that there's this great new song that's come out of South Africa called JERUSALEMA. And the song is sung by 2 South Africans, and it was picked up by a group of people in Angola, and they developed a dance routine that goes along with the song, and that has taken off like wildfire around the world, and people all over the world are listening to the song and doing this dance routine. In fact, it's called the JERUSALEMA challenge. So a lot of workplaces will get their staff together and they'll all do the challenge. And it's really a lovely bonding experience. The lyrics are great. It's just a really uplifting song that's been super helpful for us in these times of Corona. So I shared that with my men's group through a little WhatsApp chat channel that we have. And I shared it and I said, what do you guys think? I specifically asked them, it was a request, not a demand, but I was looking for their feedback to let me know what they thought about it. And I didn't hear anything. And a couple of days later, I sent out a follow-up chat and didn't hear anything. And finally, in desperation, and mainly because I was concerned that I was now starting to shut down and starting to go into my pouting pattern, which I try to monitor, not indulge myself in, I thought I needed to express myself again. And so I was a little bit more direct. And then I did hear back, at least from 2 of them, one who directly gave me feedback about what he thought about the song, and the other one who just acknowledged that he had got it. But I still don't know actually what he thinks about it. And I haven't heard from the rest. Now, I value my men's group and I want to restore harmony in regard to what I experienced as a rupture around that. And so rather than going in and just letting it all hang out and telling them, I thought it'd be wise for me to get in touch with what I'm feeling, what I'm needing, so that when I do have that conversation, I'm prepared. And also it'll be an opportunity for me to role model and show you how it is that you can use them yourselves. So very basically, the first thing you do is you'd shuffle the cards, right? You don't have to do a lot, and I'm not, you can see I've never worked in Las Vegas or Reno, so I'm not one of those great shufflers, but you just need to make sure they're a little, shuffle them a little bit. Partly it's also a little bit of a ritual that helps you get in touch with what's going on. And then what I do is I turn over the cards and I look at them one by one, and I ask myself, is this a clear no? So the first round, what I'm trying to do is eliminate all of the clear no's. That's what I want to get off to the side and just be left with all of the cards that I think have some potential as being a yes. So the first card I've picked up it says afraid. So it's saying, prompting me to get in touch with, am I feeling some fear? Now, what I would quickly say is that there is a little bit of fear. What I'm afraid of is speaking up. That's always been an issue for me. I come from a conflict avoidant lineage, as I like to put it. So expressing myself in these kind of circumstances is scary. So there's some potential there for me around the fear. Excited. Right now I'm not excited, but when I discovered the song and I wanted to share it with them, I did feel excited. So I'm putting that card down over there. Now, as you'll notice, as I do put the cards down, I'll be trying to order them, put the like ones together. That's another thing that you can do. Suspicious, not strongly, but there was a little bit of suspiciousness in terms of what was going on, why they weren't responding. Torn, yep, I do feel a little torn in the sense that should I say anything? Should I just suck it up? What should I do? I was a little confused, so I'm putting that with the suspicious card. A little confused as to what was going on, why they weren't responding. Definitely felt uncomfortable, not hearing back from them, wondering what I should do. Definitely felt uncomfortable. Stressed, yeah, a little bit. In other words, I felt a little stressed out about feeling uncomfortable. That kind of goes along. Exhausted. I wouldn't say I got to the point of exhaustion on that, so I'm putting that card off to the side as something that is a clear no for me. Overwhelmed, that also doesn't apply for me, so I'm putting that away as another clear no. Sad, torn, a little. I'm going to put it as a separate little stack for myself here, so I did feel a little sad that I didn't get a response. And a little disconnected, in other words, of not feeling, so close around the situation. Angry, that's too strong for me. If we come across the irritated card, I'll probably put that one down, but anger, that's too strong for me. That's a clear no for me. Reluctant, well, the reluctance is in expressing myself. I always struggle with that, so I feel a little torn, a little reluctant, so I'm putting that one down. I don't really feel any, this is the remorseful card. I'm not sure that I feel any remorse for what I did, so that's a clear no for me. I'm putting that to the side. Guarded, yes, I do feel a little guarded in terms of whether I share, so I'm feeling torn, a little reluctant, a little guarded as to whether I should share or not. But here's a card that I like. I'm feeling open. In other words, yes, I do feel open about expressing, despite the little bit of the fear, despite the torn, the reluctance and being guarded, and I actually feel open, and that's why I'm actually doing this. Here's that irritated card, so I'm putting that down. It was a little irritating having to keep on writing back to them and say, hey, what's going on? And yeah, I did feel a little powerless. In other words, there was nothing I could do. I wanted to hear back from them, but I didn't. Definitely a little vulnerable, and I'm putting that with the suspicious, the uncomfortable, stressed, and vulnerable sort of stack that I've got going here. And unhappy. So I'm putting the unhappy card down with the uncomfortable, stressed, and vulnerable stack. Let's see, shocked? No, that's too strong. Didn't feel shocked. Frustrated. Now, frustration is a slightly stronger form of than irritation. I don't know that I quite got to that level, but there's a little bit of a maybe there, so I'm going to put that one down. So I definitely felt irritated, maybe a little frustrated. Grateful. Now, I am grateful, and I'm going to put that with the excited card because I am grateful for my men's group. I really appreciate them, enjoy the time that I spend together with them. Lonely. No, that doesn't feel like it applies for me here. Surprised. So under the suspicious, confused stack I'm going to add, I was a little surprised, confused. You'll notice surprised is a milder form of shock. You know, shocked is a little stronger than surprised. So there was an element of surprise that I didn't hear back. Compassionate. Well, you know what? I do feel a little compassion because I know they're all busy and got stuff going on. So while I am open, I also have some compassion for what's going on in their lives. It's not just all about me. All right, here's the envious card. Just got to find room for my stack. I'm going to put it on the far end over here because this speaks to my envy of their musical mastery. So I do feel that. And I do feel a little embarrassed sometimes that I'm not as musically adept as they are. So I'm going to put that one down there too. Relieved. I'm actually feeling relieved right now that I'm doing this, that I'm getting in touch with my feelings and that I know I'm going to find a positive way of communicating with them. Distracted. No, I wouldn't say I felt distracted. Interested. I am interested in expressing myself, working something out, restoring harmony. Inspired. Well, kind of, but it doesn't really feel like it applies to this situation, so I wouldn't say I feel so inspired. Hopeless feels a little strong, but in the same way that I felt powerless, I probably did feel a little hopeless at times. Appreciation, that's just my general appreciation for my group that I feel grateful for as well. Happy, wasn't really a happy situation, so I'm putting that to the side. Engaged, in the same way that I'm open and interested, I also feel engaged. Depressed, I wouldn't say that feels too strong. It always reminds me of a clinical determination, which so I don't like. I don't feel like I'm depressed. It's not. I felt calm all along, but it doesn't really speak to me in the situation about being calm or comfortable. I mean, yeah, it sort of applies, but not to the situation that I'm examining, or relaxed. So I'm putting that off to the side. Energetic. I do have some energy. I'm engaged. I have some energy around this, so I'm going to put that down there. Disinterested? No, I'm definitely interested in expressing and exploring this. Confident? I feel, well, I'm going to put it down because I feel confident in my ability to communicate, so I think that can go down. Don't feel confident about my music skills. Furious, a stronger form of anger. We have irritation, frustration. Remember, I discarded anger, and I'm also discarding furious because that's too strong for me. Discouraged. Yes, I did feel discouraged. So that's sort of, I've got that down on my column where I've got irritated, powerless, frustrated, hopeless, and discouraged. And honestly, a little hurt. So I'm putting that with the sad, disconnected, hurt stack that I've got going here. Disappointed, yes, that also gets added to that same stack. Disgusted, no, that doesn't apply for me here. Contempt, no, way too strong. That's considered the most negative emotion. Worried, yes. Now that goes along with the afraid one, because I am a little worried that, you know, how does this play out? We never really know. So there is a certain risk that we take when we open up and express our feelings. Joyful doesn't really apply. Well, you know what? What it does apply to is how excited I felt about this song, because it is a joyful song and it does make me happy. So I'm going to put that down over there. And I also do feel hopeful. I'm putting that with the open, confident stack that we can work something out. Terrified, worried, afraid. Terrified is really a strong form of fear, and I don't feel terrified. I trust my men. Tired, nope, not tired, I'm more energized. And peaceful, no, we don't have peace yet. And I don't feel content quite yet. So there we have it. So what I've done, that's the first thing that we do, is we first get out all of the cards that are a clear no, and you can see here I've got a little stack of them. These are all the clear no's that I put off to the side. And then I'm going to work through these, and I'm going to select the top 7 and see if I can figure that out. Now, sometimes it takes a little time, but here we go. So I want to acknowledge the piece around that I was excited sharing what I was going to share with them, and also that I definitely did feel a little vulnerable in doing that, given my sort of just how I feel about myself in relation to my history, expressing myself around music with the group. The other thing that I'm going to put down, which is that I was a little, I'm going to say I've got suspicious, confused, and surprised. I was a little confused, wondering why they hadn't responded and why I hadn't heard back from anyone. And all of that, as I say, led me, now I've got a lot of what I will sort of describe as the sort of my negative feelings here. Now, on the one hand, uncomfortable, stressed and unhappy, that powerless, irritated, frustrated, hopeless, discouraged, disappointed, hurt, disconnected, sad. So I do want to convey that, because that really went to for me, that was really true, in other words, and this is what got on my radar, in other words, that I was, yeah, you know what, the one that resonates strongly for me is that I felt uncomfortable. Partly I'm just uncomfortable, not trying to figure out, should I reach out, should I just let it go, what should I do? And that also addresses the other stack that I have here of torn, reluctant, and guarded. While it's true that I was a little irritated and felt powerless and maybe frustrated, I think what I really felt was discouraged and a little disappointed. And truthfully, my feelings got a little hurt. And yes, there was a piece of me that did worry, or does worry about what's going to happen when I express it to my men's group. But I actually feel hopeful, in other words, confident and energized and engaged and interested, but the word card I'm choosing is hopeful as a way of expressing that I believe that we'll be able to talk about it and work something out. So let's see, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. As I said, 7 isn't a magic number, it's just an approximation, and this, for me, it feels like it's helped me to express myself fully, so I'm going to leave it there. I want to push together, or as I say, squish all of these other cards together and push them off to get them out of the way, push them to the side, over here. There we go. Put them over there, and I can add those to the so-called no stack. There they go. Now, I'm going to see if I can highlight some of these cards, whether it's 3 or 4. I'm going to see if I can do that. So I think in a way I want to say, if I go to the essence of the experience, while there was the excitement of sharing it, what I really want to convey to my men's group is how I felt vulnerable, a little discouraged, hurt I'm going to go with rather than disappointed, but also hopeful. So there I've got from 7 to 4. And what I hope you're seeing is how I'm taking all of those 56 cards. I've now got, as I say, 9 and now 4 that give me a real sense of what's going on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to gather these up. I'm going to keep them in order, because what I want to move to now are the needs cards. I'm going to put these to the side, but I'm going to bring them back in, and you'll see how I use them a little later on. Because when it comes to the needs, in fact, you know what? I'm just going to leave them back out. I think I can still keep them down here. So let me just leave them down here. I think I'll be able to find room to put the needs down as well. Because there's a relationship. Remember, as I said a little earlier, there's a relationship between needs and feelings. If I'm tired, I need rest. So I want to see if I can connect the feelings with my needs, and that's what I'm going to do. So there's my feelings. Remember, we do a quick little shuffle of the cards. So I do a quick little shuffle. All right, so now I've done my shuffle, and I'm going to do the same thing. I want to eliminate all of the clear no's. I want to put them off to the side and leave myself with the ones that I think have some potential for me. Create a little bit of space out there for me. Have some potential. And again, I'm going to limit myself to this situation. There are a lot of times there are needs that sort of generally apply. In other words, we all need air, we all need water, we all need food, we all need rest at times. All sorts of needs that we have, but I want to find the needs that really pertain to this situation as I described it, and then these feelings that I've got down here. So here we go. So card number 1, empathy. Oh yeah, I definitely feel like I need some empathy around that feeling of being vulnerable. So I'm going to start my stacks going in that direction. Fun. You know what? To me, that kind of connects with that feeling of excitement, of wanting to have some fun and share something that I like musically. I felt like finally I've got something that I can share that they'll all like. So I wouldn't mind some fun coming out of this. Support. I felt a little discouraged, and I want some support around my development around my music skills and interests. So I would like some support from my men. Accountability, no. Now this is a card that really often would apply in the workplace situations. But now there's a clear no. As I say, I just made a request. I don't have any authority to demand anything or to hold anyone accountable, so that card's getting pushed to the side. Justice, nope, this is not about justice. Autonomy, that's really like independence. No, I don't feel like I need autonomy. Fairness, no, it doesn't feel like a fairness issue for me. Rest, I'm not tired, I'm excited, I'm energized. Freedom, nope, I'm free, I'm expressing myself. Power, now I do have a little bit, remember I said I felt a little powerless, and so I'm going to put this in front of the, well, actually the disappointed card, just to say that I would have liked some, you know, I wish that there was something that I could have done and was to get them to respond. Health, nope, that's not what it's about here. Privacy, no. In fact, I'm trying to open up and be vulnerable. A little bit of commitment. Maybe there's a little bit in that for me here. So it's not as strong as accountability, but support, a little bit of a commitment from my group to support me. Let's see what we got here. Love. Well, we all need love, but again, not really applicable for me right now. Acceptance. There's a little bit of acceptance. So with a vulnerable empathy stack, I'm going to put down acceptance. Understanding. I would like some use. Remember I said I was confused, so I wanted to understand what was going on and why they didn't respond. And as I said, although I didn't choose the compassionate card, I intend to be understanding and compassionate of them too. Community. See, I do have a need for that, and that ties in with that hopefulness that we can restore unity and communicate about this and establish community. So I'm putting that card down there in front of the hopeful feeling. Quality, no, it's not about equality for me. Competence, much more of a workplace kind of a card than what we need here. Partnership, nope, this is not an intimate relationship or a workshop partnership I need. Don't need space. Acknowledgement. I think there's a little bit that the empathy, acceptance, acknowledgement that comes up for me there. So I'm going to put that one down there. Belonging. You know, I do feel that need in terms of being hopeful. I do want to maintain my sense of belonging in the group, so that goes down there. And also reassurance. Now, reassurance is where we reach a little into the future and we say, please tell me it's going to work out the way I want it to work out. So I'm just admitting to my humanness there and saying, in terms of that sort of column of being hopeful that the community and belonging can be restored, and I'm reassured in that regard. Learning, I definitely want that. So remember I said I wanted support and commitment where I'd felt discouraged, because I want to learn, I want to grow in my musical literacy, just like I want all of you to expand your emotional literacy. Purpose, no, not about that. Transparency, no. Clarity, a little confused, so I want understanding and clarity. That's, remember, understanding why, what went on and why weren't they responsive. To mourn. So for me, this one sort of ties in with disappointed. When I'm sad or disappointed, we sometimes need to mourn. So it's maybe just to accept that little bit of disappointment that I had. It's not strong for me, but I'm putting it down there. Dignity, not really. To matter. Yeah, well, again, in that context of my being hopeful about restoring unity in my group, that I do want to feel like I matter. Trust. Yep. I think I would like to feel where, you see I've got the uncomfortable card, I would like to feel that sense of trust, that I'm safe, expressing, knowing that I can express myself when something comes up, and similarly that I can communicate with them, so that also relates to me. And also just feeling safe, so that's, I'm putting this with the vulnerable stack here, in other words, that I feel a little safe. Recognition, that sort of, again, is often a workplace kind of a thing where people want to be recognized for what they do. It doesn't feel like it applies for me here. Honesty, I do want honest. I certainly want them to be honest with me. So again, in terms of being confused, I'd like them to be honest. Contribution, I'd like that support, them to make a contribution towards me in terms of my learning. Consistency, so I think here is where I'm going to put. Remember, I've passed on fairness, I've passed on equality, I've passed on justice, but the little bit of the hurt might be a little bit of a feeling of, you know, if it was someone else, would you have also ignored them? Maybe feeling like, let's be consistent with one another and in how we respond. So that's just I'm being extra vulnerable there, but that's true. Performance, more of a workplace one, and I don't feel like it applies here. Reliability, I'd like to rely on my team members. That sort of feels, it resonates with me better. Connection, I want to feel, so I remember I said I was worried that if I expressed myself it would lead to disconnection, so I'm going to put down here connection as a need for myself. We all want peace, but again, I know that it particularly applies right here. I'm feeling hopeful, but I do need to have hope, a little bit like reassurance. Attention, I would like to have a little bit of attention from the group. That was really what I was wanting, was them to look at it and tell me what, or listen to it and tell me what they think. Mutuality, that's really the two-way street, so maybe I'll put that down there on the reliability, consistency piece. And consideration also sort of feels alive for me there too. And a little bit of care, so I'm going to put that down there too. Respect, don't really feel like it was a disrespectful, any disrespect or appreciation, no. To be seen, yep, just to be seen, like with the empathy piece, just to be seen for who I am, where I am in relation to my music growth. Authenticity, honesty, and authenticity kind of go together in terms of resolving the confusion. I want that. And certainty, I want clarity. I also want certainty, so I know exactly where I stand. And I would like to celebrate, so I want the excitement, I want fun, and I want to have a little bit of celebration almost at the end. To be heard, I'm going to put that down with my communication card, because I'd like to be able to express myself and trust that I can let them know how I've been impacted. Inclusion, I do feel like, as I say, I belong and I'm included, but I'll put it down there because there's a little bit of that in there for me. And the opportunity, I do want that opportunity to grow in my musical literacy, if I put it like that. So again, what we've done, right, is we've established I've got these cards that don't apply. They're all my clear no's. I've used the feelings that I identified to create my stacks to find those needs that are going to address them. And now my job is to see what are the ones that are the most important for me, the ones that stand out the most, that I'm going to say that apply. So in terms of that excitement, I'm going to go with, I want fun. That's the one that I'm going to choose for there. In terms of me feeling vulnerable, I think I would like, so the choices I have here is empathy, acceptance, acknowledgement, safety, or to be seen. And I'm going to take the to be seen, the to be seen for, vulnerably for who I am, where I am. In terms of that confusing, ultimately I do want them to be authentically honest. I want them to clarify and to give me certainty, but I really want understanding. I'd like there to be understanding to come out of the confusion. So that's what I'm after there. In terms of feeling a little uncomfortable, I would like to feel that I can, the word I'm going for here is trust, to know that I'm safe, again, another of those needs, but that I'm safe to be able to express myself. In terms of feeling a little discouraged, what I need a little bit is, so I've got support that's speaking to me, a little bit of a contribution. That makes me feel a little too, I don't know, it makes me feel a little needy. I'm going to go with support. That's the one that I like the most, so I'm going to choose the support card here for me. Disappointed. So what I would like there, and I'm not sure these ones are really going to truly speaking to me in terms of disappointment. I suppose what I'd like is the opportunity. I'd like them to have the opportunity of being able to explore music together and grow together with them from being seen where I am, and take it from there. In terms of being hurt, so I've got consistency, reliability. That feels a lot more workplacey. Mutuality, there's a bit of that. In other words, the two-way street, like if they do something, I'm going to do something. But the word that I like the most actually is consideration. I just like, as you see now, it makes me feel needy. The one I like here for me here actually is mutuality. I'd like there to be a sense of a two-way street. If they ask me something about something they want some feedback on, I want to give it to them. And when I make that request, I'm hoping they'd respond in turn. In terms of worried, what I really need is I want to maintain my sense of... The last two cards you have, worried and hopeful, and they all pertain to me being worried about expressing myself, but also being hopeful that we'll be able to work something out. So I do worry that it could breach the sense of connection, so I do need connection. and I'm hopeful that we can create a sense of holistic community. So there we go. That's sort of basically the process that I would go through to get in touch with myself, what I'm feeling and what I'm needing. So I'm feeling excited, I need some fun. I'm feeling vulnerable, I need to be seen. Confused, I need understanding. Uncomfortable, I need trust. Discouraged, I need support. Disappointed, opportunity. Hurt, mutuality. Worried, I need connection. Hopeful, I need community. You can all do this slightly differently. Don't feel limited to doing it exactly the way that I do it. This is just one way of doing it, but this certainly will put you in touch with what you're feeling and what you're needing. So in a sense, you're giving yourself empathy. The other thing that you can do is also use it to get in touch with what the other person is feeling and needing. So if it's a situation involving a partner or a friend or a colleague, you can do this first to get in touch with what you're feeling and needing, and then you can do it in respect of that person. And this is where you're being what I call an empathy detective. You're trying to sense and imagine and get into the shoes of what it is that, if I imagine myself being that person in their shoes, not me in their shoes, what would they be feeling and needing? And that information will be really useful when you have the conversation. You'll be more ready to be able to be an empathic listener and acknowledge what they're feeling and needing in the way that you demonstrate your understanding of what their experience has been like. And there's a quick little tip when it comes to listening. Remember that when we demonstrate understanding, we're not necessarily agreeing. We're just saying, I hear you. I hear this is what you feel and this is what you need. Doesn't mean that you would have those same feelings or needs in regard to that situation. But I think this is as far as I wanted to take it in terms of sharing what I sort of really see as the basic way of using these cards as a tool to get in touch with yourself, to give yourself some empathy, and to set yourself up to have an empathic exchange with another human being. Thank you. We'll be creating other little videos similar to this to explain to you how you can use these cards as a problem-solving tool. In other words, to work out a conflict where you sit down together with another human being and work something out, and also how I use them in a group setting. Both of them are really, really helpful.
For more information or to acquire a set, please visit www.empathyset.com, and you can also join us on Facebook. Thank you for your interest.